Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 2 of ESR and RWB presenting the Saturday Super GT series. I'm here tonight with Josh again.
Hey everyone.
And we're at Suzuka this time. And this week we're streaming Tier 1. So we've got a 50 car grid with, I think, 26 GT3s and 24 GT4s. So should be a pretty exciting race with a lot of traffic.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of people were complaining that Suzuka is quite a tough track to pass with GT4s, GT3s. But yeah, hopefully, well, it's good news for us. Maybe not so good news for GT3s, but definitely a lot of entertainment ahead. So don't go anywhere. Yeah,
it's going to be hard for the drivers going through the S's and to get past the GT4s. So what we'll do is first we'll start with a little rundown of the drivers that we've got in tonight. So if we start off with, so we're mid qualifying at the moment. We're about 4 minutes into quali, and it doesn't look like anyone's set a lap yet. Oh yeah, no, they won't have because it's more than a 2-minute lap here. So I will wait until we've got some people setting a lap so I can see who's in GT3 and GT4, because it's difficult to see until people start setting laps. So what I will do is I'll put the camera on. We'll go with Elgard, and we'll let Josh talk you through a lap of this track. So we'll go on board with Elgard, and there you go. Josh, over to you.
Definitely. While we wait for Elgard to get around to the start of his lap, because we're currently partway through it as he's coming up towards the hairpin before he heads onto the 200R. The track was, well, it's quite an old track really. It was done in 1960, commissioned by Sachiura Honda. So yeah, Suzuka is owned by Honda, and yeah, in 1960 Mr. Honda saw racing as a perfect testbed and promotion stage for his products. So that's how we end up with the perfect stream of ribbon that we have here over in Japan. It's hosted quite a lot. It's hosted F1, Suzuka 8, 10 and 12-hour endurance races, Super GT, even some super bikes as well. So yeah, it's a grade A FIA recognized circuit. So it's a pretty famous circuit. If you don't know it, well, where have you been living? You've been living underneath a rock. But yeah, as we now get on board with Elgard, as he comes up to the very last corner, as he starts his flying lap down along the straight. Yeah, the main straight past the pit lane, super long pit lane, can fit I think over 60 cars in there as he heads towards the first corner, which is it's a really tough braking zone down at the 50 marker down into 4th, as he tries to get past that traffic in front of him, nearly squeezing it past as he heads onto the Snake, which is a series of nice flowing S's, but of course all of them have varying degrees of radii onto them, so it's not just kind of break down to 3rd and just coast around. As you can see, Elgard changing down into 2nd as he heads up towards past the anti-back curve and onto Dunlop, which starts his next section into Sector 2. Up here you've got the quick break down at the 50 marker board, as you can see him down 2 gears, past Degner as he heads into the right underneath the bridge, because of course it is a figure of 8 circuit, as he heads back up towards the hairpin where we first joined him on his last lap, coming up to Goatfried in the GT4 747 car, as he heads now towards 200R, flat out all the way around, making sure not to overload those left tyres, but it doesn't matter too much because he's coming up to the spoon curve right here, which is a long series of lefts. It's pretty much it's a 180 left, but comprised of 2 corners all the way around, making sure not to bottle it because it is weirdly cambered, so you can easily go off on the right, and there's not a lot of runoff area before you head off into some gravel, which will slow you down. Now onto the back stretch, going back over that bridge that we saw when he passed through Degner, approaching 130R, very famous corner. Lots of people like to send it into here, trying not to throw it off. Like Elgard just manages to hold it on the slight runoff there into the Casio triangle, as he does a quick right, another quick left, onto the final curve, which will bring him back round onto the start straight in time for his final lap. So yeah, it's a super fun track, but yeah, very tricky. There's a lot to remember, and yeah, it's definitely one of the more complicated tracks on the GT3 GT4 calendar.
So Josh, got a question for you. How do you reckon track limits are going to play in this race?
I think with track limits, as we could see with Elgaard there, you'll have lots of people trying to outbrake themselves, I reckon. Everyone in this league, of course, we're in Tier 1. These guys are super fast, but of course, when you're super fast, that means you've not got that much more to squeeze out of your car, especially when going to corners. So I think there'll be a lot of outbraking themselves. And it is a fairly narrow track compared to others out there. Not a lot of runoff area, there's a lot of grass. You've also got that weird kind of slippery green stuff on the outside of the runoff areas, which can definitely throw you off into the gravel. So I think track limits won't be so much of a concern. I think it'll be more people running off the track and losing tons of time trying to get back on track.
Yeah, it's definitely...
Especially with the traction control settings on these cars. Not like in gravel or grass whatsoever.
It's definitely brutal if you go off the track at this course. It takes an age to get back on. I think Spoon's the corner Elgaard's just coming up to now. I think this is the only corner that you can reliably run wide. Although the curb on the exit of the first left-hander, if you go over that, it really bumps your car, so you can lose a lot of time from that. And then the exit of the second left, if you go a tiny bit too wide there, you get a warning for track limits. And obviously, the drivers, if they get more than three warnings, then they're going to be getting a drive-through penalty, which is, I think, probably about a 30-second loss. So it's a pretty massive loss. So I think a lot of people are going to be hoping. Crookshanks, especially down in Tier 2, he'll be hoping he's not going to be getting a drive-through this week like he did last week.
Definitely.
But obviously, we'll have to find out after the race, because we're streaming Tier 1, so we don't have Crookshanks. Now, on that note, we're on board with Elgaard. We'll move around a little bit so you can see more of the track. Elgaard and Higgs, I think, were the P1 and 2 in the Tier 2 race last week, if I'm correct, Josh?
Oh, it was so long ago for me.
Well, I think they were, and I think they've both been promoted to Tier 1 because they were a little bit too fast for Tier 2. So
yeah, I remember some controversy with Elgaard. Complaining that he was too fast for Tier 2, so of course he got bumped up into Tier 1, so he's now with the big boys. Hopefully he'll have more of a challenge this time as well.
You can see Suzuka with Curtin going off there. It's absolutely brutal when you go off the track. It takes an age to get back on because it's just grass runoff. He's just messed up his lap there by spinning off. Yeah, so I'm wondering how Elgaard and Higgs are going to hold up in Tier 1, because obviously they were really dominant in Tier 2. I think Elgaard was in the interview saying that he was running max fuel the whole race just to kind of slow himself down so that he could have a bit of fun, and he still won. So I think I'm excited to see what Elgaard and Higgs can do in Tier 1 and see how much of a difference in pace it is between the two tiers.
Yeah, I'm excited to look out for the BOP adjustment as well. Cause
the Porsche.
The past week, there've been balance of power adjustments to a number of the cars, most notably the Porsche. So a lot of these people will have started off in the Porsche hoping that it would, expecting it not to change at all. But yeah, of course, that BOP is going to adjust them as well. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys have coped, because it's not just, they're a bit slower now. It'll change the car's dynamics slightly as well, how it drives. Because there's lots of tools that VOP can adjust. It can adjust ride height, ballast, power. So it basically changes the way the car drives, which will be interesting to see how everyone copes with it.
Yeah, so we might not see Porsche domination this week. Well, I don't think we really saw it last week, but I mean, in esports ACC, you do see quite a lot of Porsche domination. So hopefully that's going to be gone now.
I mean, if we look up and down the league right now for the GT3s, you can see
a lot of Porsches.
There's a lot of Porsches.
Yeah, so all of them are going to be a bit annoyed about that, but that's how it works.
8 Porsche GT3 cars out there. In fact, there's nearly more Porsches than other cars, other GT3s. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if their strengths or weaknesses have changed, and it will change up the dynamic on how the drivers in the Lamborghinis, the Mercs, the Audis, even the Honda and McLaren, see how if there's any weaknesses that they can exploit, or any strengths that the Porsches suddenly picked up out of nowhere from the BOP adjustment.
Yeah, should be good. We'll keep an eye on the Porsches as the race goes on then. Right, so if we'll do a little rundown of probably top 10 of each class. So P1 at the moment with 7 minutes of quali left, so they've got a few more laps in them. We've got Mike Stoffmeal. He's done a 1:59.6, which is pretty damn fast for this track. Then in P2 we've got Dan Sedgley, who's currently in the pits. He's 0.3 off Stoffmeal, and clearly he doesn't want to try again. It looks like he's doing a few setup adjustments. He's just dropped down to P3. We've now got Chris Crossman, that's the tongue twister, in P2 with a 59.9, going just a tad faster than Dan. Then P4 we've got Jero Kaleja. Sorry if that's the wrong pronunciation.
I think it'll be Jero Kalea.
Yeah, that. Whatever Josh just said. Yeah, he's in P4. The top 4 are within. In fact, no, the P2 down to P5. P2 down to P5 are all within 1/10 of each other, so that's pretty tight. We've just had Cody Pride go up into P2. Then in P6 we've got Rumble Jensen. P7 we've got Olivier Curtin. P8 we've got Johan Peterson, or Petterson. P9 we've got Elgard. Let's see if he can gain a few positions. P10 is Carlos Guijaro.
Do we have a go at that?
Do you want to correct me on that one, Josh?
Guijaro.
Yeah. Then 11th we've got Jeff Kepler. 12th Leo WX. 13th RWB Carzolia. 14th James Lacey. 15th Matt Higgs. Now let's have a look at the GT4s. In fact, I may as well just keep going. There's only a couple more. 16th we've got Sam Snelltrain. 17th Mohamed Karolia. 18th Daniel Barnett. 19th Adam Sharp.
Oh, you're now into the GT4s
and now sorry, missed that one. P1 for the GT4s at the moment is Adam Sharp. He's done a 2:11.6. Then couple of hundredths off his lap time, sorry, is Ignacy Bucek. Pronunciation again. He's P2 in the GT4s. P3 we've got RWB Rigel, who's in the pits. P4 is Job Islander, who's also in the pits. P5 RWB Pinpoint, who is also in the pits doing setup changes, as you see his car coming down off the auto jacks, or whatever you call them, the things that come out the bottom of the car. Then we've got RWB Helmet in the Camaro, the nice bright red Camaro.
Yeah, Team Murica, he's running.
Yeah. Then we've got Gareth Rowlands in the Aston Martin, popular GT4 car. Then we've got Jeff. He doesn't have a first name apparently, he's just A Jeff is what we'll call him. Then we've got Mad Al, who's in the pit lane in the Porsche. Then Larry Foster, also in the pit lane in the Aston. Goatfriend has just overtaken him. Goatfriend, he also doesn't have a first name, he's just Goatfriend. Then Greedy, also in the Camaro. So what's that? We've got 3 Camaros.
Not often you see that.
No. It's quite a strong car. I don't know why people don't choose it. I quite like it. Although it does feel a bit like a boat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then we've got... Oh, this is a good one. Zvonimir Burek.
Yeah. Zvonimir Burek.
Then Dan H. Anderson. Then Martin Schaefer.
And in in the Maserati as well. That's
Oh,
gonna be interesting.
yes, no traction control or ABS on the Maserati, so he's at a massive disadvantage to everyone else. But it is a lot of fun to drive, but the concentration it requires. I drove it in a race on Wednesday night, I think. The concentration that it requires to not just lock up and go off at every single corner is just insane. Like, the race, it was an hour race on Wednesday and it felt like it went on for like 4 hours. So I'll be surprised if he does well, to be honest, because, I mean, fair play to him if he does well, because it's insanely hard compared to all the other cars. And it's not really got any benefits over the other cars. It's no like faster on the straight, other than it sounds absolutely insane. So if let's just go onto the back of his car, hang on, into the chase cam, and as he approaches turn 1, just listen to the downshifts on this car. It is absolutely amazing.
Jesus, so
It
aggressive.
just absolutely rips. It literally sounds like ripping like paper that's just amplified. It sounds so good. I love it. And you get that noise in the cockpit as well, which is why it's part of the reason it's so much fun to drive. And he's actually just gone 4th last now. And then finally, we've got Ian Simcox. Sorry, I just want to stay on the Maserati for a little bit longer to hear a couple more downshifts.
I don't blame you.
We'll definitely be checking up on him in the race, even if it is just for the downshifts. I'll go quiet for the next corner. Oh, listen to that. You can see the car, you can see his wheel inputs. He's going left, right, all over the place because the car just wants to send you completely off the track. The wheels just lock up and it's just, the car just doesn't want to go straight.
He's doing well with his throttle management for exit of corner, especially on that hairpin.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do in the race and see if he can keep it consistent for an hour around this track. And then let's just jump on. We've got Simcox currently sitting in last place in the Aston. So I think we've gone through everyone. So we've got 30 seconds left in qualifying. So if drivers time it right, they can cross the line. If they cross the line before 0 seconds, they get to finish their lap. So we can see Dan Sedgley, who's currently sitting in 4th, has just crossed the line, so he'll get another whole lap. Yeah, and then we'll just see what happens once qualifying's finally ended and go through the top 3 in each class, I think.
Definitely. I'm curious as to where Stoffmeal's found that extra 2/10 compared to everyone else, because, as you say, P2 through to P6, it's very close. But then Stoffmeal's just found that extra 2/10 somewhere. I wonder if he's managed to slide it somewhere or just cut track limits somewhere, managed to get away with something.
Yeah, maybe he's... I mean, he's one of the there's only 2 Lamborghinis and he's one of them. So, don't know, maybe it's a bit of Lamborghini power at this track. Sedgley, that was his final lap as well, so that's qualifying over for him. So I think he's secured P4 unless anyone else can beat his lap. But that'll be annoying for him. Let's jump on with Stoffmeal. Oh, okay. I was going to see if we could see anything. Oh, as we got Cody Pride in the wall as well. Yeah, I wanted to see if we could see anything from Stoffmeal's perspective, that he's doing anything different, but he's currently sitting in the pits. I think he knows that he's got P1 in the bag with 2/10 buffer. Rumble Jensen in P2 is also in the pits. Cody Pride, we've just seen go off track, so he's done with quali. Dan Sedgley's done with quali. Chris Crossman's done with quali. So all of the top 5 are all done with their quali laps. In fact, that's the end of quali now, so everyone has finished.
Yeah, so Carzolia couldn't find any time anywhere.
Yeah, he's staying in P9. But we've got Stoffmeal on pole with a 1:59.6, and we've got Rumble. It's not Rumble, is it? It's Rumley. I've been saying Rumble. I just misread it.
Yeah, it's Rumble. It's Rumble.
Rummel Jensen.
Rumble.
Then P3. I'm really not very good with names, am I? P3, we've got Cody Pride, and P4 we've got Dan Sedgley, and it looks like they're teammates. They've both got GTR after their name. So let's return to garage, and then we can hit drive once we're on the grid. So I think P3 and 4 are teammates, so we might see some team orders or some strategy between them two to maybe hold up or catch the guys in front.
Yeah, hopefully Peterson as well. He looks like one of their either clanmates or teammates. He's down in P10 at the moment.
Yeah, so he might be one for maybe getting up to like P7 or P6 and stopping these guys from catching P3 and P4.
It's absolutely gutting when your friends are off ahead having fun and you're stuck behind. But of course, that adds to the challenge and motivation for you to try and get up ahead and try and catch them so you can have bragging rights at the end.
So we've got so I think, is it just them three in that GTR team? Yeah, I think it is. So we might see some teamwork going on from them. And if we go down to the GT4s, we've got Adam Sharp, who is on pole, as he was when we went to him halfway through qualifying, so no one's managed to beat his lap. Then we've got Ignacy Bucek on P2, and then we've got RWB Rigel on P3. Then AJF, RWB Helmet, Job Islander, Pinpoint, Gareth Rowlands, Mad Al, Goat Friend, Foster, Martin Schaefer, Dan Anderson, Greedy, Zvonimir Burek, and Ian Simcox. So we're looking at the starting grid of the race just before they go on their short formation lap, and it's a minute and a half, so they're all probably making sure they've got all their setups set right. Maybe some of them might have pre-calculated the fuel they need for the race. Some of the ones that have put in a bit more work, but I'm sure there's some people frantically working out how much fuel they need to get around the hour race. I know that's what I like to do.
Yeah, I've been there many times, especially when you double guess if you put the correct amount initially.
Leave it till 10 seconds before the race starts to calculate the fuel. But so same format as last week. We've got an hour race, and they've got a mandatory pit stop with a mandatory tyre change. So, it is a mandatory tyre change, is it? I think it is. I think I'm getting myself mixed up in my head with other races. I think it's a mandatory tyre change, but they don't have to refuel. But with a tyre change, they'd kind of be silly not to, because the tyre change takes 30 seconds anyway, so you can put fuel on without adding any time, and it'll save you weight in the race. So
it is a mandatory tyre change, but refueling is optional. But as you say, it makes more sense to refuel, as that means you're not lugging that extra fuel all the way around.
Yeah, exactly.
So that, of course, is extra weight and acts like ballast almost to you.
So 8 seconds until they go off on their short formation lap. So turn 1 at Suzuka, it's a double right-hander. It's really easy to send it, I think. So we might see some interesting moments in the first corner, because it's quite easy just to outbrake, because you can carry more speed into the first corner, but it compromises your exit in the second corner. So you can still get round with the send, but you'll just have a compromised exit. So we might see some people trying the dive bombs into the first corner, and maybe that might cause a couple of incidents, but hopefully nothing too major. But, it's always interesting for us, isn't it? As they go round the final corner of their little short formation lap, it's literally just the couple of corners, and they're going for a rolling start, so it'll wait until the person in first, Stoffmeal, puts his foot down, and then green lights will flash on everyone's screen, and everyone will put their foot down. So as they're rolling up to the line now, he's probably going to leave it as late as possible to go, because then there's a short straight for people to catch him up.
Definitely gets everyone
and
caught.
It's just gone green, so they're all full throttle now, running down into turn 1, trying not to go into the side of other cars. Doesn't look like we've had any dive bombs there. Looks pretty clean so far. Around the first corner, Stoffmeal's managed to keep it in first. I think Jensen's gained a position. He was in P3. Sedgley's down in P3 now. Cody Pride is P5. I think he was P4. I don't know what happened to the other GTR guy that was in P3. Peterson is P10. So he's lost a couple of positions. Oh no, the two GTR guys are still P3 and 4. So
you're watching the wrong teammates.
yeah. So I think the top 3 stayed pretty similar. That looked like a pretty clean turn 1, I think. I don't know what happened down in the GT4s, but everyone seems to be coming through sector 1 at the same time. You can see all their gaps popping up on the left. So it looks like there's a little bit of contact going on between Elgard and Guijaro down there. Let's jump onto them. We've got wrong camera. Sorry about this. So Elgard is currently following Higgs, who both of them gained up from tier. That's not the right word, is it? Got promoted from tier 2. That's it. So they're looking very similar on pace again, but Higgs has actually dropped quite a lot of time to the car in front. I don't know what's happening. There's Higgs. So yeah, you can see Higgs has got 2.5 second gap between him and Olivier Curtin. So that's just after 1 lap. The first lap of this race, there's already a 2.5 second gap. So maybe we see them being overpowered in tier 2, but they've come up into tier 1, and maybe they're not quite as fast as some of the top guys. But 57 minutes left, 2.5 seconds is not hard to make up over that hour. One mistake and you can lose way more than 2.5 seconds. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Higgs and Elgard and see how they hold up in tier 1. Let's go back down to the GT4s. We've got Adam Sharp has managed to hold P1 for the first lap. He's still up there. Then we've got Guijaro in second, Ignacy Bucek in third, Jeff in fourth, RWB Rigel. I think he started higher than fourth, right? Oh, Guijaro's a GT3. Didn't realise that. So he's just got past. He's managed to drop himself down into the middle of the GT4 traffic. Don't know how that would have happened. I guess he must have spun. But yeah, it looks like Adam Sharp and Ignacy Bucek at the front of the GT4 field have already pulled 2.2 seconds on the guy in third, Jeff. So we might see a little bit of a runaway race for Sharp and Bucek here today.
Definitely, it's always a worry from the first lap because there's so much action and everyone's trying to get a space. You always hear people saying it's not won in the first lap, but it kind of is because everyone's trying to get that spot, and as soon as a gap opens, it gives the people ahead breathing room to go off.
Especially on this track, it's really difficult to overtake. So I think track position is quite a big factor in final positions in the race, and that brings me on to the pit stops. We might see the undercut being quite powerful here today, because half an hour your tyres are starting to go off a little bit. So if you undercut and get yourself ahead of the car that you were battling with before the pit stops, it's going to be really difficult for them to then overtake you after the pit stops, because the tyre wear won't drop off enough after half an hour for them to get an easy pass on you. But it'll be, but the track position will be a massive benefit. So hopefully we might see a few position changes after the pit stops, just from people on differing strategies. Back at the front of the GT3 field, Stoffmehl has already pulled 1.5 seconds to Rummel Jensen. So again, the top 2 in GT4 might be running away with this. It's looking at this rate, Stoffmehl's going to run away with this on his own, the solo breakaway. And then Rummel Jensen and Dan Sedgley are 0.8 apart. And it's looking like the GT3 field's kind of dropping into little small groups, it looks like. So we've got kind of like a group of 4 at the front behind Stoffmehl. And then there's a couple of groups. So there's the group of 4. Then if we jump back to Cody Pride, it's Chris Crossman and Olivier Curtin are going around pretty close to each other, with just 0.4 dividing them, and they're in their own little group. And then down again is Elgard, who's actually got past Matt Higgs now, So as we saw last week with Elgard and Higgs having that battle, and Elgard came out on top, at the moment, 6 minutes in, he's already out in front of Higgs, and he's got a 6/10 gap to him. And then behind them looks like a massive train. In fact, there's about a second now between Higgs and Elgard, so that's gone up massively. And then behind Higgs, looks like there's a massive train. So yeah, you can see it's kind of 3 seconds between like 5 cars, and then down with Leo WX, there's a little gap to another group with Lacey, Snell Train and Corolla in it. And then back with Daniel Barnett, who's dropped off 4 seconds off that group. So it's very spread out, the GT3 field, I think, for 2 laps in. You've already seen like 2, 3, 4 second gaps in between little groups of people.
Yeah, definitely. You'll find this, everyone starts to attack each other, and as soon as one person's attacking, another one's defending, you just lose time because the person who's defending is compromising their line, and the person attacking is, of course, being held up by the person who's compromised their line. So you end up with these kind of groups almost. So yeah, it is interesting. It is sometimes kind of you need 2 drivers to kind of have this telepathic connection and kind of agreed on, I'm going to stay behind you, you stay ahead, let's just try and catch up to the guy in front, and we can battle that out later when we've caught up. That's kind of what Jensen needs to do with Sedgley and Kalea. They just need to get their heads down, go, right, Stoffmeal is running away with it, he's already got a 2.2 second lead on us, and we know we're quick, and we know he's really quick, he's got some sort of 2/10 magic spot that he can pull out. Let's just work together, try and get ahead, catch up to him, and then we can fight as a 4. There's no point in us fighting as a 3, because at this rate, Kalea's missing out on a podium at this rate, because they're all fighting each other and holding each other up while Stoffmeal runs away with it.
Yeah, it's pretty insane pace from him, as it's now up to 2.6 seconds. So he's just constantly pulling away. So I think he's going to be looking in his rearview mirror and laughing at the guys battling behind him. Thinking that he's just running away with it. So if he keeps up this pace, he's going to be way, way, way ahead by the end of the hour. Assuming he makes no mistakes, that is.
Yeah, I mean, with a 2.7 gap, there's no need to look in your mirrors. You just kind of keep your foot down, get into the rhythm, and then just go. Like, there's no need to look behind. Because as soon as you're looking behind, you're not looking forward, and that's when mistakes tend to happen. I mean, when you see mistakes in racing like this, I mean, we saw it last week. We had people going off because they were being pressured from behind and looking behind them but not focusing on what's ahead. How do you know where the brake marker is when you're not looking at it?
Yeah, it's definitely easy to let it get to your head with someone right in your rearview mirror. They're almost on your bumper into every braking zone, and it's really easy to just see that and just concentrate more on the person behind than what you're actually doing, and you end up making a mistake and losing the position.
Definitely, but at least it looks like Jensen's finally managed to get a break and remove that pressure.
That
he's
gap,
got Kalea pressuring essentially, which is class.
Yeah, so Jensen looks like he's bridging the gap. He's actually pulled down a couple of tenths on Stoffmeal in the last like half a lap. So we might see him bridging over to Stoffmeal. I think he started in P. Did he start P2? Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't know what, he's just managed to find some pace, but he's pulled away from Sedgley and Kalea. But now we've got Sedgley, Kalea, and Cody Pride all pretty close together. So they're probably going to be holding each other up. You can see how close. If we jump on board with Kalea, you can see how close he is to the rear bumper of Sedgley going into those braking zones. Obviously, it stretches out a little bit on the straights as Sedgley gets on the power a bit earlier. But coming into each braking zone, Sedgley will have Kalea right in his mirror, so that's going to be quite a lot of pressure. He knows he's on podium position at the moment, so he knows if he makes a mistake, it's going to be quite a big loss to go from 3rd to 4th. So yeah, he's going to be feeling the pressure now.
Definitely. I mean, with the Porsche, it's amazing on the brakes. It's got amazing handling characteristics if you can handle and manage the weight balance of that car, because of course it's rear engine, so you need to make sure the rear doesn't come round on you in the braking time.
Like to spin, yeah.
It does, yeah. It's very famous for having lots of people in public lobbies in Porsches spinning off in it.
Yeah, because
that Merc is absolutely blistering fast on the straights as well.
It's the classic, type it in Google, what's the fastest car? And it will pretty much always tell you the Porsche. It might change now since the BOP, but yeah, it'll pretty much always tell you that the Porsche is the best car all round. So you see a lot of people just choosing it just because they get told it's the best car all round. But you have to tame it. It's really difficult to drive. So it's fast when you're good at it, but it's a lot more difficult to get good at it than it is in, say, like the Aston, which is a really stable, just fairly all-rounded fast car, and you can be really competitive in the Aston without learning how the car drives, whereas the Porsche, you really need to put time into learning how it handles, because it's just so different to all the other cars.
Yeah, I mean, if you go into any GT3 lobby on ACC, you're guaranteed to find a Porsche in there, like every time. I used to drive the Porsche a lot as well in ACC, but yeah, it's tough to tame, especially after like half an hour. It takes a lot of concentration. It's almost like the Maserati in some sense of trying to keep your head on track.
Sorry, I'm just having a drink. So we're down at GT4 now. We've got Adam Sharp and Ignacy Buchek, who we said were running away at the start of the race. They've now got... We'll wait for it. No, it's 5.7 second lead over the guys behind, and that's in 12 minutes of the hour race. So we're not even a quarter of the way through, and they've already got a 6-second lead. So those two are completely running away, but they are only... Look, you can see how close they are coming out of Spoon. They're really battling now, so we might see them start to lose quite a fair bit of time to the guys behind, but 6 seconds is a pretty big buffer, so I feel like even if they are battling, the pace they've got over the other guys behind is probably going to be alright. So unless those two make a mistake, I think they've definitely got the pace to win this race. And then if we drop back to... It's not going to let me drop back, is it?
I mean, if you look at HF, the timing between HF all the way down through to G Rowlands, I mean, between all of them is about a 2.5 seconds covering all of them. And like according to the timing streak, I could see Islander and Rydell getting right up behind HF with a 0.2 second gap at one point. You can see it there. Jeff's caught up to 0.2 second with Islander being 900ths off Jeff. That'll be him right up his bumper, or perhaps even alongside him. So that's going to be a properly tough battle between all of them. And yeah, like I think Rydell's managed to finally get past HF, but it's one thing to catch up to someone, but another thing to overtake, and it's going to be properly tough for both those guys to finally agree almost, or at least get past HF, so they can start building, well, chipping away at that time between Rydell and Buchek, as that's currently at what, 7 seconds?
Yeah,
which is a massive gap.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. 7.5 seconds. Yeah, I think I'm having a couple of issues with the oh no, as I say, I'm still having issues. I'm struggling to change the camera. It's being a bit slow on me, so we'll just put it on auto at the moment.
Luckily, it's gone straight to the battle we want to see.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I was trying to click on, but it wasn't letting me.
Unfortunately, as you see, Jeff just went off at the hairpin as well. He just flew right off into the
no, I missed that
on the outside.
Oh no, that's tragic. So now it's a two-man battle between Rowlands and Islander. As Islander absolutely sends it up the inside of Rowland into Spoons, but he's compromised his exit out of it, because you can send it, but you just don't get the run onto the second part of the corner. Jeff, I think Jeff's managed to not... Oh no, is Jeff still ahead? Yeah. Oh no, Jeff's...
No,
there you go, he's going
Jeff
down.
was definitely not going to be ahead.
Yeah, it was just updating. So he managed to only drop... He dropped back to the front of the group behind, so he didn't really lose too many positions, but he lost about 4 seconds, I think. So he's kind of out the battle with Rollins and Rigel and Islander at the moment. I think my cameras are working again now, so we can have a. If we jump back to Schaefer, we'll have a look forwards. So you can see he looks like he's about to go for a move on the on D. He's in the Maserati. I just realised that I heard the downshift. So you saw him look up the inside on the straight. He moved across, but he was a little bit too far back. And the problem is, if you try and dive in the Maserati, it's very easy to lock up and just go straight on. So I feel like that was a sensible move to just tuck in behind D and just carry on. But yeah, this little group of 5 cars pretty much just going along as a train at the moment. Hopefully we can see Schaefer managing to get this move done on D, because this will be pretty nice to see a Maserati. In fact, he's managed to get himself up a lot of positions. He was in like 4th to last or something in quali?
Yeah, he was 4th last.
He's
after quali.
He's currently 26th out of everyone, which makes him 11th in the GT4s. I think, if my maths is right. So yeah, he's managed to gain a lot of positions, so fair play, because that Maserati's hard. So let's see what's happening with Rollins and Islander. If we look back on, Islander has dropped back quite a fair amount. He's now 9/10 behind Rollins, so I don't know if he went off or something, or whether Rollins has just found pace and just managed to pull a gap, because they were bumper to bumper. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of contact or something and knocked him off.
I'll tell you who is bumper to bumper. If you look ahead at Sharp and Buckcheck, that's what, 0.056 as they crossed the line, crossed the time sheet.
Wow!
Whereas that Buckcheck now ahead of Sharp as well.
Oh yeah, but Buchek's taking the lead on the race in the GT4s. So, we missed that. That's annoying. Yeah, so he's managed to pull a 6/10 gap just in the time they crossed the last sector line 500ths apart, and now it's up to 6/10. So I think Sharp had a bad run through the first corner. But yeah, Buchek's into the lead now, so that's really good to see. A little bit of change of position, because at the start we thought Sharp was going to run off with it, didn't we? Oh no, actually it was Buchek and Sharp were running off together. Yeah, but Sharp was well in the lead. He had like a few tenths over Buchek, but now he's managed to get himself through into the lead, so he'll be really happy with that. And now he's just got to get his head down and just try and drive off for the next 41 minutes of the race. At the front of the GT3s, Stoffmeal is just coming up to a load of GT4 traffic, so this might be quite interesting to watch. He's just gone past Jeff, but he's still... The gap's down to 3.6 seconds between Jensen and Stoffmeal, so that's come down... It was on 6 before, so I think the traffic's not been nice to Stoffmeal, because he's lost about 3 seconds on Jensen. But then we've got Jensen 3.6 seconds behind, and then Dan Sedgley is 1.7. This is just a load of cars on the track at the moment, as all the GT3s are trying to get past the massive train of GT4s. Sedgley here is in 3rd place, 1.7 seconds behind 2nd place of Rummel Jensen. And then 2.6 back, we've got Jero Kalea. And then another 2.5 seconds back is Elgard. So he's managed to put a couple of cars in between him and Higgs. So Elgard's proving that maybe that ballast last week with him was equalising him and Higgs, because he seems to have a fair amount of pace over Higgs now. It's now what I think he's got about 7 seconds in between the 2 cars, and 2 GT3s and a couple of GT4s in between them. Oh, as someone just span.
Who's that?
Kalea just span. Oh no. He was in 4th place. So he's just lost his chance of a podium, I think. That would be really frustrating for him, but he's down into 10th place. Oh no, he's lost 6 positions from that little spin there at 130R. That's a very difficult corner to get right. Well,
Peterson in the pits as well now.
yeah, the pit window's just opened, as you might see at the top of the screen. It's 20 minutes, so they've got to pit in these middle 20 minutes of the race. Yeah, Pettersson's just dived into the pit, so he's going for the massive undercut. He's going to see if he can make up like multiple positions with the undercut. Burek going sideways out of the first corner. Yeah, so I don't know what happened with Kalea, whether he got caught up with a GT4 going through 130R, because there's only one line through that corner, because it's pretty much flat out. And if you try and go side by side with someone, either you're going to hit each other off, or one of you's going to get a track limits warning. So I don't know whether they tried something too risky and just it spanned Kalea off, or whether he just lost it. Because I mean, the Porsche, we did say at the start of the race that these drivers are going to be struggling with the Porsche in this race, because they've only had like 3 days to get used to the new balance of performance on it. So I've heard things that it's feeling quite different to how it used to. So it's harsh on the Porsche drivers, because they've literally got a couple days to learn a pretty drastically different feeling car. So I don't know, maybe that was a factor in his little off track, but yeah, down in 8th place now.
What I'd be worried about for Kalea is that Porsche is not fun to drive with any amount of damage, and he did smack that wall head on.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he's also got some extra handling characteristics to manage as well, because the Porsche is not a tank like the Nissan or the Oakley or anything like that. It doesn't like damage whatsoever.
So I think if I were Kalea now, I'd be looking at pitting this lap, because we're in the pit window, so he's not going to lose too much time pitting. But I mean, we'll see. If he's got damage, no, he's not pitting. But if he's got damage, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't just pit and repair it now, because you're gonna clear your mandatory pit stop by pitting now, and he'll probably lose less time repairing it than he will just running it out for the rest of the race, because, well, looks like he hit the wall pretty hard. So
yeah, I think Pettersson pitted at the right time, because of course he was coming up to GT4 track.
Yeah, definitely.
Losing it.
They were all.
If you're coming up to GT4 track, you may as well pit, so you don't lose any time while passing them. Because I mean, we saw Stoffmehl's gap drop as he was passing that massive train of GT4s, and it is a massive train, as you can see there.
I've just clicked back on Stoffmehl, and we can see the gaps now back up to 6 seconds. So I think Stoffmehl cleared all the GT4 traffic, and he's just run away. Literally just put his foot down, and he's just like, nah, see you guys, I'm off. Yeah, so Jensen and Sedgley, 6 seconds from Stoffmehl to Jensen, and then 1.2 seconds down to Sedgley, then another 4.4 Elgaard in P4. So he's managed to work his way up. He wasn't that high in qualifying. I think he was P6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, he was. He was about there with Higgs.
And he's managed to work his way up to P4. I mean, we saw Kalea go off, so that would have been a free position for him. But yeah, he's doing really well.
Especially in that Honda, it's not the best car to drive.
Not the greatest car, is it? As he's just finished lapping the whole GT4 field, so we can see there that Buchek is still held his position in front of Sharp, even with all the extra little interesting GT3 passes, and yeah, so it just makes it a little bit harder for those GT4 drivers. You can't make it too easy for them. So let's have a look down here. Greedy has got a half a second gap to Schaefer behind in the Maserati. He's not managed to get the move done yet, but he's managed. He's holding on. He's just in that last sector split. He's 1/10 behind GD. It looks like he's going to go for a move down into turn 1. Oh no, that was actually a GT3.
Yeah, that looked way too easy for a GT4
in fact,
and GT4.
Schaefer has pitted. Yeah, Schaefer's pitted. So he's decided that he was getting held up by D, and he's just decided to pit, get himself some clear air, see if he can undercut. Because if he can have clear air, if he's got better pace than D, if they're both in clear air, he's going to be doing faster lap time. So once D pits, D's going to drop him. Anderson's going completely sideways around that corner. That looked pretty sketchy for him.
Someone call Need for Speed. This guy's in the wrong game.
Yeah, so he's got decent buffer. He's got a couple of seconds to the guy in front and a couple of seconds to the guy behind. So, I mean, that slide wouldn't have really affected him too much, but I'm sure it was a little bit of a Code Brown moment for him. Definitely needs a new pair of pants after the race. So at the front, Buchek is still ahead of Sharp as Higgs is just lapping them now. So they're still having to deal with these GT4s.
Ooh, that looked really close from
yeah, definitely. Just going through, as I said earlier, that 130R, it's just you can't go side by side. So the Higgs cut in front of Buchek there just before the corner so he could get his line through the corner. That was a little bit close for comfort. Kalea's got a stop-go 30-second penalty, so I'm assuming that is for speeding in the pit lane. So his race has gone from P4 to now down in P14 after his pit stop, plus a 30-second stop-go. So effectively, a 30-second stop-go is adding a whole nother pit stop to his time. So he is down in P14, but has to pit just like all the people in front of him. So I think he's gone from P4 down to P14, and I doubt he's going to jump anyone in the pits.
No, that'll definitely be a P16 for him, unfortunately.
That's going to be very sad. Yeah, he's going to be down in last place after that. It's pretty difficult when you're trying to... If he's entering the pit lane and he's trying to gain every last tenth, braking as late as possible coming up to the pit speed limit line. If you just brake a tiny bit too late or lock up and you're slightly over the pit speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour, then the game's brutal. It's just like stop go 30 seconds. So that's going to lose him probably over a minute of time. So for the tiniest little bit of speeding in the pit lane. So that's pretty brutal for him. His race has gone downhill very quickly.
It's effectively over at this point.
As I think what we can see is him in the pits. So I have a feeling he's just retired, unless he's doing his stop go. But he's in the pit lane at the moment. He's just dropped into last place, and he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So either he's serving his stop go, or he's just retired. Rage quit.
That's an unfortunate end.
Yeah.
Him, because it looked so promising for him. But
I know, he was doing so well. He had the pace in the Porsche. I guess it's just got the better of him. Yeah. Oh, D. Schaefer's got in front of D. Let's go back and have a look at this. Schaefer's managed to get in front of D. So they both pitted, and Schaefer, we saw him earlier. Schaefer pitted a lap or two earlier than D. And I said, does Schaefer have the pace over D? Can he get the undercut? And it's worked. He's managed to get track position over D. And that's pretty good at this track, as I was saying, just before the race started. It's really difficult to overtake. I mean, Schaefer's probably going to be super glad that he's not stuck behind him anymore, because I know how frustrating it is when you know that you're faster than the driver in front, but you just can't find anywhere to overtake because the track just doesn't allow it.
Definitely. As you can see, the leaders in GT4 have just finished pitting.
Yeah, then... So, what have we had with the front of the GT4 pack? So, Adam Sharp's currently in the pits. Guijarro is... Islander is also in the pits. So Sharp and Islander at the front of the GT4 field. No, it wasn't Islander, was it? It was Buchek. So Buchek's pitted a lap earlier than Sharp. So if we jump on board with Buchek, we see him coming around the final corner. So he pitted a lap earlier than Sharp. So is he going to jump him with the undercut, or is Sharp going to manage to hold it? So
you can see Sharp's just gone green.
Sharp's
so
just left his pit box. So depending on where his pit box is, as we just get the halfway through message of the race, is he going to come out in front? Buchek going past? I can't see. Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's got a big gap. That's 4-second gap there. So Buchek's made the undercut work amazingly well, and he's gained 4 seconds on Adam Sharp. So he'll be kicking himself that he didn't pit a bit earlier. So yeah, that spiced things up a little bit in the GT4s, as now Buchek's just going to pretty much be able to run away with this at the moment. He's got 4-second lead.
I mean, you called it, man. You called
Yeah,
it.
the undercut's powerful. Yeah, so obviously he's down in what, like 6th in the GT4s, but everyone in front of him hasn't pitted. So if we jump to the front of GT4s, so the top 5 haven't pitted yet. Roland's has got a huge gap over Burek. Like, it still hasn't even told us the delta between them because it's that big. I don't know. Is that right? 17. There you go. It's just popped up. 17.5 seconds gap from Rollins to Burek as Rollins dives into the pits. We might see Burek going in there. We might see him going another lap just so he can see first place on his display for a lap. Well, he's the only car, or one of the only cars that hasn't pitted. No, he is pitting, so he's not letting himself get undercut, even though it's a 17-second gap. Simcox 3 seconds behind him has also just followed him into the pit lane. So I'm assuming that was probably a little bit of a "I'll pit if you pit" kind of thing, because neither of them want to pit after the other one. Because I mean, we saw what happened to Sharp and Buchek with the undercut, gaining 6 seconds. So yeah, neither of them want to be the second one to pit, because that's going to be a pretty big disadvantage. So out front, Stoffmeal in the GT3. Stoffmeal's just coming into the pit, so he's gone out. When you're out in front, there's kind of, if you've got clear air and you've got the pace that Stoffmeal's got, it doesn't really matter when you pit, to be honest, because you're just constantly running away from the guys behind. It's a 23.8 second gap to the Olivier Curtin behind, who also hasn't pitted, and Sedgley's 26 seconds behind. So this might be quite interesting if we jump on board with Sedgley as he's coming up to Spoon. Whether Sedgley's made a big undercut work on Stoffmeal or not, because what was it, 6 second gap? We've seen Pitstops making 6 second gaps, so we might see
Buchek and Sharp.
Yeah, exactly. So we might see Sedgley with the massive undercut on Stoffmeal, which would be insane if he makes this work. I think he must have pitted 1 or 2 laps ago, and Stoffmeal's just gone in. He's still not green on his pit box, so he's not left. He's just gone green on the pit box, so he's just been allowed to drive away from his pit box. So be going down the pit lane. That to me looks like a similar time that Sharp got released from his pit box and got mugged off with the undercut. So I don't know. This is going to be tight.
I think Stoffmeal's run away if it's...
Yeah, Stoffmeal's gone.
He's long gone. That'll be him passing the second corner.
Yeah, so... Yeah, look, he's way ahead. It's showing 8.4... No, it's showing... No, that's wrong. It's not updated yet. Well, when they cross the next sector line, we'll see the gap between them. But it's... Actually, I can see it. It's 8 seconds between Stoffmeal and Sedgley. So Stoffmeal actually managed to go faster than Sedgley, even with the undercut. So I just think Stoffmeal's got so much pace. I don't know where he's getting it from, but he's
as long as he keeps his nose clean, I think he's got this in the bag.
Yeah, definitely. Easily. So Jay Lacey's out in first at the moment, but he hasn't pitted, and he's only 15 seconds ahead, and you lose a minute in the pits pretty much. So Lacey's going to be way down. So yeah, Stoffmeal's 8 seconds ahead there. So he's just run away with this, to be honest. So if he can just keep it clean, we'll probably see Stoffmeal on the top step. But you never know. GT4 traffic can cause major troubles for the GT3s if they're not in the same like headspace about who's going to do what when they're coming up to the overtake, and they both think they're going to do different things to what they're actually going to do. You can very easily take each other out. So you never know. Multi-class might just make it exciting for the top step of the GT3 podium. Podium.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, so Sedgley's managed to just pretty much keep the gap at 8 seconds. So at this rate, they're just going to lap at the same pace. Down in P3, or what is effectively provisional P3 for the GT3s is R. Jensen, and he's right on the bumper of Sedgley, so 2/10 gap. So we might see him going for a move in this next lap, so let's just follow on board with him as Lacey's in the pits, and now they're all getting given their actual positions, so they all move up a position as Lacey drops down. We might see Jensen going for a move on Sedgley in the next couple of laps because he's right on his bumper. Elgaard 2 seconds behind Jensen, so he's pretty consistent. He's got a 9-second lead over P5. So Elgaard's kind of in his own race at the moment. He's a bit too far away from Jensen in P3 to make anything work at the moment, but you never know, he might catch up. But he's got a massive gap down to P5, 9 seconds, so he's pretty comfortable right now. He's probably pretty happy with his performance at the moment. Coming from Tier 2, winning Tier 2, jumping up to Tier 3 and already being in P4 not Tier 3, Tier 1, jumping up to Tier 1 and already being in P4. So he's clearly got massive pace if he's able to hold his own up here as well as in Tier 2.
Who else is going to be happy is Pettersson, who started at P10 away from his buddies in the GTR clan.
Yeah.
He's up to P6
and he's actually overtaken Cody Pride's down in P8. So Cody Pride, the other GTR clan member, is down in P8. So he started P3, I think. So he's somehow managed to drop quite a few positions, which is unfortunate for him, but you know, that's racing. So Pettersson's going to be pretty happy because, I mean, you said at the start of the race, you were like, oh, it'd be nice if Pettersson managed to beat one of his teammates because they'll have massive bragging rights over them. So he's going to be pretty damn happy that
he's definitely going to be chuffed with that.
Yeah. And then Dan Sedgley is now, well, he's P2, the other GTR clan guy. So he's going to be, I think his teammates will be happy for him on the podium, but he'll have even more bragging rights over what's his name, Cody Pride, because they started next to each other on the grid, and it's gone. Cody Pride's gone down to P8, and Sedgley is in P2. I'm just wondering, can you see Cody Pride? No, I can't see Cody Pride. Anyway. See, I've got him on my timing sheet, but I think he might have retired.
It could be an unfortunate disconnect.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened there, but he's not showing. It's not letting me select his camera, and we can't see him on the leaderboard. So I think he might have actually retired from the race. So that's even more unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely.
So depending on what happened, I don't know. It might have been just an unlucky disconnect. Maybe he crashed and got massive damage and just couldn't be bothered to finish the race. You don't know.
I really hope he didn't do that.
Yeah, hopefully not, because come on, at least finish it. But you know. Well, maybe we'll find out later on. Maybe when we're interviewing Dan Sedgley, if he gets a podium, we'll ask him. We'll see what happened to his teammate. So Jensen is right on the bumper of Dan Sedgley still. It was 7/10 at the last split, but it's down to 6 at the moment and 5 on the exit of that corner. So it's pretty equal behind them. Jensen's just probably struggling for a place to overtake. Like, it's so difficult.
Sometimes it benefits you to just sit behind and wait for them to make a mistake, or wait for them to abuse track limits. Just keep the pressure on, and yeah.
Because if we go into the cockpit,
GT4 knocks them off.
If we go into the cockpit, if they were on board with Dan Sedgley, you can see the white and yellow Audi of R. Jensen behind. If you just look in the mirror at the top of the screen, you can see how intimidating it is. He's going super defensive on the inside line there, just to break the slipstream and stop the dive bomb. But if you just watch the mirror at the top of the screen, look how close the cars come in the mirror. It's really intimidating having someone right on your bumper like that, and it can easily force a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, you also have the car radar as well, telling you how close other drivers in your proximity are, and that will just be constantly popping up and off,
flashing red.
Yeah, with him getting closer and then falling away again.
So I think Dan Sedgley's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders right now, but I don't know. He's seemed pretty consistent so far, so maybe he's not letting it bother him and just getting on with his own race. But So he's coming up to GT4 traffic, so he's probably more focused on this. So you get pretty much, that was quite close. Thought he was going to get held up there, but he's actually managed to not lose too much time. But yeah, he got pretty close to the back of whoever that was. I literally just had his name in my head and now it slipped.
Jensen. Oh wait,
no, the GT4. I think it was Jeff. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it was Jeff.
Yeah, so he's just, the gap's just gone up quite massively. You can see the Audi is now just a small dot in the mirror. So I guess he just made a mistake, but or got held up by the GT4. But yeah, it's just pretty much he's probably more concentrating on just smoothly getting past these GT4s, because if you catch them in the wrong place, you can lose a lot of time. But it's also a lot down to driver skill, because you've got to know when to make the overtake, because there's times when you could make an overtake, but you're just going to end up ruining your race and the GT4 races if you crash out. So you don't want to be that guy that takes out a GT4 because you were too impatient and you couldn't sit behind. But it's also he's under a lot of pressure from Jensen behind, so he's coming up to a GT4. He's going to be thinking, I need to get past as quickly as possible because I don't want to lose all the time that I've just gained, and the buffer that I've just built up. I don't want to lose it all because of a GT4 getting in my way. So yeah, but he looks like he's doing pretty well as he comes up to Schaefer and the Maserati. A little bit slidey through there.
You also look like there's currently a fight happening between Carolina and Jay Lacey. As you can see, that time has just dropped down as well, between Jay Lacey and Carolina.
Let's go and have a look at this.
That was my subtle way of saying there's a battle I really want to see happening right now. Especially as it looks like Jay Lacey's in a sea of Porsches as well.
Is this it? Yeah, this is it. So if we go outside, Calais.
There's Jay Lacey and Carolina.
Carolina, that's it. I was thinking you were saying Calais. Oh yeah, there we go. Jumped on board right at the right moment. Lacey's going round the outside of turn 1. Let's see if he can make it stick around the outside. But they're side by side. Is he going to get a better run?
For the next corner
yeah, there you go. So Lacey's just managed to make an around the outside move at turn 1, which is pretty difficult to do. But you do get the inside for the next left-hander, so it works pretty well. As we just saw there, Lacey making it just look textbook. Super smooth, no like understeer or oversteer. They both respected each other's space really well, and Lacey's managed to get that position, so he'll be pretty happy with that. He's up into P13 now. But I don't know about you, but he's already pulled a gap, so I don't know whether Lacey's got some pace and maybe he just made a mistake early on in the race and he's looking to maybe get into the top 10. He's just jumped up to P12. Oh yeah, that was the overtake, wasn't it?
I mean, if you get past, you have to get out of this mindset of, I just got overtaken, and you have to shake it off. You have to be like, right, I've been overtaken. All I can do now is try and stick with him. Yeah, because hope for another opportunity.
It's really common to get overtaken and then start trying to push too hard, and you end up just overdriving the car. Just you're turning when you've got too much speed going into the corner. You're just sliding the front wheels, just scrubbing them, messing up your tyres, losing loads of time. But it's just so easy to do when you get a little bit frustrated or when you've just been overtaken, because you don't.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it with Bottas in the F1 at Monza.
Yeah,
the first corner where he got overtaken, and then after that he just kept plummeting down, and it ended up costing him the race. He ended up in P6.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Lacey's already pulled 1-2 second gap to Carzolia, who it now is. So Carzolia has overtaken Carolia. Very similar names there. And they're running the same livery as well, so I guess they're teammates. Yeah, I missed that overtake. I don't know if you saw it, Josh.
No, but it's exactly like we said. Like, Carolina just needs to get out of his head almost and get back into the rhythm.
You just saw him go wide at turn 1, the second part of turn 1, so maybe he's just, I don't know, maybe Carzolia just said, come on mate, let me past, I've got more pace, and you never know. They're clearly teammates with those matching liveries, so, and the same car, and the similar names. I don't know whether that's a coincidence or whether they've made that happen.
Maybe they're the same person.
Yeah, that could work too, right? Is that possible? 1 foot on each set of pedals and 1 hand on each wheel? I reckon you could do that. I reckon,
Definitely.
like, yeah, you can read 2 pages of a book at the same time, so you can drive 2 races at the same time. Easy. Let's jump to the front of the GT3s with Mike Stoffmeal, and he's just completely running away. It's up at a 10-second gap now with 14 minutes left in the race. He's got us in the bag, surely.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, he just needs to keep this rhythm up, keep it going, and then just ride this wave of confidence all the way back down. Because I mean, you can see him approaching GT4s. He's got this confidence about him, and he's just going, you know what? Let's get this out of the way, done as fast as possible, and keep on going.
So Elgard, who was in P4, is now up into P3. So he's come from P7, 8 on the grid, up into a podium position in Tier 1, in his first race in Tier 1. So he's won in Tier 2, and he's currently on P3 in Tier 1, so that's really impressive.
That must have been some serious sandbagging during the heat.
I know. So he's got a 5-second lead over P4 already, since it can't have been more than 10 minutes ago that we had a look at him, and he was down in P4 behind our Jensen. Oh, it was Sedgley. So Jensen must have made a mistake, because our Jensen was all over the back of Dan Sedgley. We were watching him in the mirror, weren't we?
Yeah.
And he's now 9 seconds behind Sedgley. So he must have had a little moment, gone off track. As I said before the race, going off the circuit at this track is so brutal. The grass just kind of like sucks you off. It doesn't let you get back on. It's just like, nope, I'm not letting you get back on. You're just going to slide along the grass. Maybe add a spin in there for good measure.
What I'm surprised by is after, 48 minutes, we've still got really close battles. I mean, you can see O'Curtain and Higgs on the timing screen are still really close to each other, and with right behind them in the previous train behind them, it's Kepler and Wicks.
Pettersson's up in P6. So I think there's quite a big gap. It's still loading the gap. It's 12.9 seconds there between P6 and P5. So Pettersson's unlikely that he's going to get in the top 5, but if he can hold off Higgs and Curtin, who are battling, then if he can just run away while they're losing time, like going defensive on each other, then he might secure this P6, because these guys are going to lose loads of time from their battling.
Yeah, you could see Higgs on the last corner, but last little bus stop, he was all over the place on the exit start, and almost looked like he compromised his line.
And that nearly compromised him into turn 1, because you saw Curtin having a little look up the inside, but he just wasn't quite close enough. But that could have been the position there, that little squirm on the exit of the final corner. As they're coming round Islander in the GT4 Camaro, let's jump back into the GT4s and see what's going on down there. So we've got Buchek is still in first place with a 5-second lead over A Sharp, so he's managed to pull that. Oh, hang on, Buchek just went off as I flicked to him.
Oh no!
Buchek went straight on at the hairpin, and he's gone from first place. I think he's down into. When it updates, I think he must be down into third or fourth. So that's going to be really, really frustrating for him. I think maybe Sharp and Rigel might have got past him.
That's going to be super unfortunate.
But he had a 5-second lead. He was nice and comfortable, and it just looks like he just outbraked himself at the hairpin and just gone straight on. Oh no, he's only lost 1 position, so he's only down into P2. But Sharp's now got a 5-second lead. No, I lie. Sharp. We'll have to wait for them to cross the sector line. Sharp has got a 3.3 second lead over Buchek. So that's going to be really frustrating. He's lost 8 seconds there with that little off track. So he's kind of just thrown away his race there with 10 minutes to go. I don't think he's going to be making up 4 seconds and an overtake in 10 minutes. That's going to be a pretty hard thing to do unless we see Sharp doing the same thing that Buchek did.
I'll tell you who's had a worse race though, is Goat Friend, who's unfortunately had to retire.
Oh no, what's happened?
There was some bug. He ended up going back to garage rather than click and drive, it seems.
No.
So that's just unfortunate for him.
That is really unfortunate. But that's sim racing. You get mechanical issues in real world racing, and you get technical issues in sim racing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, we were doing our race today, and one of the participants' brake pedal decided to brake in the middle of the race. So that doesn't make sense. Obviously,
Yeah,
the brake
wrong
pedal's
kind
going
of
to be
braking.
the wrong kind of braking. Decided to conk out, and he went straight up the back of me because he had no brake pedal. So that was unfortunate for him. But yeah, that was an actual mechanical issue that you don't often see in sim racing.
I mean, I had my head tracking crash the entire game as well.
That was also quite tragic.
You do get technical issues, bugs, and all that, which, yeah. But it's just part of sim racing. It's something you have to deal with.
Exactly. So down with Schaefer in the Maserati. Let's just jump on the chase cam just to hear the downshift, because why not? Greedy has actually overtaken him again, and it's now 7 seconds ahead. As a GT3 tries to go round the outside of Schaefer into Degner 1, and Schaefer's just like, nope, I'm having my line.
I'm not sure what GT3 was expecting Schaefer to do.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on it because I'd need to rewatch it, but it looked a little bit like the two GT3s ahead got the move done on the straight, and I feel like the third GT3 just kind of stuck his nose in where he wasn't meant to be, because it's very easy when you're in a GT3 to just follow the GT3s ahead who are lapping, but you've got to remember that the GT4 still has to retake the racing line to get round the corner. So I feel like maybe he just was a little bit too ambitious, and he was like, I want a bit of this. I'm going to overtake you at the same time as Carzolia bumps him.
I don't not have any luck at all with the GT3 traffic.
I mean, it's hard enough driving that car on a clean track with no traction control and ABS. Like, it must be horrible getting lapped by these GT3s. So, like, fair play that he's doing a decent job. He started pretty low down on the leaderboard. He's up in P8, I think. P7 actually in the GT4s. Oh, those downshifts! Listen to that.
That definitely always was GT3 traffic. Some pints as he's right.
Yeah, definitely. You can see him in the mirror on the top of the screen. Was that no? That's a GT3. That's Carolia. Oh,
that is Carolia.
Carzolia has managed to pull out that gap to Carolia. Then after he probably let him pass. Who knows? But yeah, Madal's now only 4/10 behind. So he's going to be thanking those GT3s, although one of them did get a little bit screwed over by the GT3 that went off the track at Degner 1. So I don't know who that was, but that's probably a bit race ruining for him, because with 6 minutes to go, you don't really have much time to resurrect an off track like that. Stoffmeal at the front, 12.6 seconds ahead. He's pretty much got this in the bag.
Still doing what he needs to do.
Yeah, he must have this in the bag. He's doing his best lap is a 2-minute 0.1. And his last lap was a 2-minute 0.6. So he's really consistent. Dan Sedgley behind is on 2-minute 0.9. So he's nearly half a second quicker a lap. So he's got this in the bag, surely.
Yeah, like, it's just business as usual for Stoffmeal in this race. He just needs to keep on going, keep on trucking.
So Dan Sedgley, 4.1 second lead over Elgaard. Has that come down? I think that's come down. I think Elgaard was like 6 seconds behind or something else earlier on when we went back. So Elgaard's actually got pace over P2 as well. So I guess his starting position kind of messed him up a little bit, but he's managed to pull a lot of time back.
I wonder if Elgaard's qualifying pace is a bit lacking, because yeah, his race pace is phenomenal. Like he's doing a really good job, but yeah, his quali pace. I mean, as we saw with his stints that he was doing for the tiering, I wonder if his quali pace is a bit lacking. Yeah. He needs that other traffic. He needs a bit of fun to play with.
Yeah, he's definitely good in the race. Down in 7th place in the GT3s, Olivier Curtin is all over the back of Johan Pettersson, so he's going to be feeling the pressure now. He doesn't want to let his teammates down. He wants to get that P6 so he can brag. But yeah, Curtin's not making it easy for him. He's right on the bumper, and it's definitely looking like, oh, it looks like he's going to go for a move. No, not quite. But he definitely tucked his nose up the inside, and he's compromised his line through there. running a little bit wide at Degner 1 and nearly a little bit wide at Degner 2. We haven't seen anyone get any track limits penalties, so I'm surprised about that.
Yeah, not yet.
Well, yeah, we've still got last 4 minutes of the race. You never know. On the back of Johan Pettersson, you can see Curtin behind. He's actually lost a bit of time there with that little run wide at Degner 1, but he definitely had the pace to just catch it up again. So we might see Curtin going for P6 before the end of this race. And Pettersson's just run wide at Spoon. And I think that's it. I think Curtin's just got the move done. Just Pettersson goes wide, Curtin stays on the racing line, easy, straight up the inside, and he's going to get a better run out of the corner as well because he took the racing line. So I think that's move done for Curtin. But we might see, you never know, Pettersson's right in his bumper. We might see a big move coming into the final chicane. Is he going to go for it? Oh no, I think he's a little bit too far back. 2/10 that would be a bit cheeky if he went for a dive from that far back.
Definitely. I mean, Pettersson needs to keep his head straight as well because he's got.
Matt Higgs right behind him as well. This is not a good position for Pettersson to be in. He's gone from P6 to now a chance of him dropping all the way to P8, and then LWX is not even that far behind Higgs either. So I think that's probably it's 4.7 seconds. So it's probably pretty safe there, yeah. But I think he's probably given up on Curtin at this rate with a 1.1 second gap in one lap. So yeah, Higgs is definitely going to be looking to get a move done on Pettersson. Pettersson's probably like thinking, damn it, I've messed this all up.
I mean, you've also got Carzolia catching up to Snell Train, so still plenty of action all the way through to the end.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's what half a second between Carzolia and Snell Train. But they're just going past some GT4 traffic, so Rigel's making it interesting for them. And look at him, he's just stuck right on the back. You can see what I mean going through the S's. It's just it's too risky to go past the GT4s. You just have to sit behind them, to be honest. And he's going to go up the inside into Degner 1. Get that move done, but he's lost quite a lot of time. It's down 1.9 second gap. So you can see there the GT4 traffic absolutely saving Snell Train there from the move. Because there was 2/10 gap and now it's 5/10 gap and now it's 2 seconds just from that GT4 traffic. So that's unlucky.
I mean, Rigel's entitled to take the line that he needs to.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point in him compromising because he's in P3 anyway in class.
Exactly.
There's no point in him compromising his race and risking losing that podium position. Exactly.
So GT4s, we've got Adam Sharp, 3.1 seconds ahead of Buchek after Buchek made that little mistake. Again, it's pretty. He's been in that position for most of the race now, so I can pretty confidently say that Sharp's probably going to take the win in this one. Buchek is going to take the P2 in that bright pink McLaren as it comes over the crest of the straight. And then Rigel down in P3. In fact, is that right? Yeah, Rigel in P3 and then Gareth Rowlands in P4, who's just been overtaken by Carolia. So the GT4 field's really spread out actually.
You say that, but if you look down towards...
But if you look down at Simcox, yeah, 7/10 gap, so... And then Burek and Jeff pretty close together as well. So we might see some last lap overtakes there.
Hopefully a last lap dash to try and get that place up.
Just having a look at the gaps, it looks like everyone else is fairly got a couple seconds between them. This looks like the closest battle on track at the moment. I don't know when the final lap's going to be. We haven't had the message saying leaders on the final lap yet, so I'm assuming it's now because Stoffmeal will be... Let's just jump to Stoffmeal. In fact, Stoffmeal's just crossed the line, so that'll be the leader. Well, he's just about to. So we'll get the leader as on the final lap message. There you go, as you just hear it now. So let's just watch this battle before we just jump back. Burek's going to go for the move around the outside into turn 1, but he doesn't make it stick because he has to brake a little bit earlier to get turned in. And Jeff managed to hold the position there.
Is that Jeff with damage as well on his front bumper? Because we saw him have that off earlier on at the hairpin.
I can't quite see on my screen. It's pretty small at the moment for me.
It
but yeah.
doesn't look like it. Looks like he still has damage on that front bumper. So I wonder if he didn't repair it.
Oh
so
yeah, you can definitely see it.
Yeah. I wonder if he didn't have that long pit.
Yeah, because it definitely would be a massive disadvantage to have along the pit stop with the overtaking. So maybe he's just decided that the damage isn't really doing enough for his lap time. So yeah, let's jump back to the leader of the GT3s and watch him finish the race and see if he can keep it together for the final lap. He's coming up to the GT4 traffic on his final lap again, so I'm sure he'll be glad that the race is about to be over so that he doesn't have to lap the rest of the field again. But yeah, 13.9 seconds. That's a huge lead to Dan Sedgley in P2. So he's just had the perfect race there, I think. I don't think there's anything he could have done better.
No, I mean, he's just had total dominance of the race from start to finish. He's not had any pressure whatsoever. After lap 1, he just walked away.
He just ran away, didn't he? So he's coming around 1:30 after the final time and up to the final chicane. Into the final chicane. Good exit onto the straight. And there you go. Our winner, Mike Stoffmeal. Fair play. Really good race.
Yeah, it looked super easy. Flawless for him.
Then we'll drop back to Dan Sedgley, who is 1.8 seconds ahead of Elgaard. So Dan Sedgley's definitely gone for the last lap. Kind of, when you slow down on the last lap because you really don't want to bottle it. He crosses the line, takes P2. Elgaard, P3, 1.8 seconds behind. So really good race from Elgaard. I'm excited to interview him to ask him how that's gone. Let's jump down to the GT4s and see if they're finishing. So we see Adam Sharp in the lead of the GT4 race, just coming around the hairpin, halfway around his last lap. Buchek's 1.5 seconds behind, so that's come down. But I think again it's the classic. Sharp probably going a bit easy on this last lap because he really doesn't want to bottle it, because that would be awful to bottle it on the last lap just because you were trying to push too hard for no reason. So yeah, and then Buchek 1.5 seconds behind, Rigel 12.5 seconds behind, so that's a massive gap. And then 5.6 to P4, so I think the top 3 is pretty secure unless we see Sharp making a mistake in the last 2 corners. We'll just watch his car coming around 1:30 for the final time. The GT4 leader coming up to the final chicane.
He's taking it super easy.
There you go. You can see 8 tenths behind. Buchek's literally right there, but he knows that there's no way he can get the move done in those last couple of corners, so he may as well just take it slow, take it easy, not spin. There you go, Adam Sharp coming up to the line, take P1 in the GT4s. Buchek's actually got a run on him, so you never know, a couple more laps and Buchek might have got him, but yeah, look at that. Buchek crossing the line, 8 tenths behind. Really well done to him, P2. And then let's drop back, see if we've got Rigel. As he's coming across the line, flashing his lights, he's definitely happy to finish that race in P3. Really well done to Rigel. And then Gareth Rowlands. Let's go back and have a look at Schaefer. Oh, he's in the pits. He's already finished. So he finished
for some more downshifts
in the Maserati. He finished what, P8 of GT4. So pretty decent run from him in that car. Like really difficult car to run, and he's gone from 4th to last in qualifying all the way up there to P8 or 9, I think, in GT4s. Let's give it a quick count. Yeah, P8. So really well done to Schaefer for getting that car around the race without binning it too many times. So that is the end of the race. We had Mike Stoffmeal P1 in the GT3s, Dan Sedgley P2, Mark Elgaard P3, and in the GT4s we had Adam Sharp P1, Ignacy Buchek P2, and RWB Rigel P3. So really well done to all those top 3s in both the classes. And I'm excited to interview all of them after this race, because I want to know what happened with Elgaard, how he made up so many positions and how he's brought his pace all the way from tier 2 all the way up into tier 1, and it's just worked. Like he's clearly massively quick in the Honda as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was not a car I was expecting to see on the podium, especially in tier 1. But it just shows how much pace he had over tier 2 as well, which was, yeah, that was something else.
Yeah, so we'll see if they've joined the interviews channel, and we'll see if we can drag our first person in, which is hopefully going to be Mike Stoffmeal, the winner of the GT3. Let's have a look. No, we don't have anyone in the waiting for comms channel.
I wonder if everyone's gone off to celebrate already.
Josh, you just want to jump into the race comms and ask them if they want to join. So, yeah, so it looks like we've got Elgard's just come into the comms, but hopefully we can get Stoffmeal in first. We'll try and go order of GT3s, top 3 GT3s, and then top 3 GT4s. So we'll just wait for Josh to see if they're coming.
I've gone off and told them to get into the waiting for comms. So we've got Stoffmeal.
Nice, yeah. Right, let's see what Stoffmeal's got to say.
Hi, Stoffmeal.
Hey there, can you hear me right?
Yeah, we can.
What a race for you! You just walked away. How was it for you?
Yeah, I just kind of cruised to victory, really. Wasn't much challenge from behind, I think. Within like 2 laps or something, he was out of slipstream, the Audi behind me. Not sure what happened to him. I think he got behind the Mercedes, right?
Yeah, he kind of just ended up fighting off people behind him, behind you. So there was quite a big train from lap 1 onwards behind you, and you just built a gap and seemed to just walk off as if nothing happened. Is there a secret for your pace around Suzuka? Is it a track you particularly like, or did you just have an amazing setup, or what was it?
No, I just drove the default aggressive. I think the Lambo's okay here. It's probably not the best car for this track, but it's among the better ones. And I think it helped that probably the Porsche got downgraded a little bit in BOP.
Yeah,
probably deservedly, because it was kind of godlike on almost every track. So it's good to see that maybe the Porsche is suffering on a couple tracks at least now.
Yeah, definitely. We were talking about the BOP, if it was going to come into factor around here. How are you feeling for the next race?
Remind me where we're going again?
Spa, I think. Hang on, let me just check that. I don't want to give anyone misinformation. 1 second. Let me find the channel. Where is it? League info. We are running to next race. Oh yeah, it's Spa. I was correct. Spa. How are you at Spa?
Spa would be my favorite and my quickest track of all of them. So
oh wow. Okay.
hopefully I can repeat this trick next time as well.
So we might see next week. I don't think we'll be streaming tier 1 next week, but we'll definitely look at the results. Can I just ask you, where did you finish last week?
Second behind Crossman.
Nice. So you've had 2 really good races, P2 and P1, and going into Spa, if it's your favourite track, I guess you'll be looking to win there as well.
I'll definitely be looking to win, yeah. I'm not sure how the Lambo is there. I don't think I've driven the Lambo there before, but I usually drive front engine there, and I seem to have a pace advantage over my peers in other series, and so I'm hoping to repeat that again.
Cool.
See how it goes.
Well, I wish you luck in your fight for the championship. I'm guessing you're going to be leading the championship at the moment, so let's see how that can go on through the next 6 rounds. So well done.
Definitely. Thank you, Stoffmeal. We don't have P2 with us, but we do have Mr. P3. That'll be Matt Elgard. The guy who got bumped up from tier 2 into tier 1 and then seemed to have quite a big pace advantage compared to other GT3s in this category. How are you doing, Elgard?
I'm doing fine. I'm just trying to get my pulse down a little. It was a good race overall, but I had an incident at the first lap where there was, I think it was an Audi or something, coming into the very tight left-hander, where he misjudged it and hit me in the side. So I actually had damage in the first stint.
Oh no.
Which annoyed me a little.
It didn't seem to affect you too much. We did notice you had a massive pace increase after your pit stop. How was it fighting? How was it fighting all the way through? We saw a lot of GT3 incidents with GT4, not quite incidents, but a lot of difficulty, and we know there was some concerns towards GT4 traffic around here. How did you find it?
Well, overall, the pace of the car was a little underwhelming. I was hoping for a little bit more pace, but it was gripping very nice. So I was able to get around the GT4s without any huge incidents. You just have to read them correctly. And then after that, I just tried to keep up with the leaders. I knew I felt a little slower, but in the traffic I was better. So it was just about time that I came up here.
That's awesome. How are you feeling for Spa? You ready? You set?
Well, I can say as much that me and my team are already working on the Honda as a car for the 12 hours next month. So I already have the car almost set up, so I should be ready.
Nice.
That's perfect.
Well, yeah. I just want to say, really well done. That was pretty nice race from you. I think you were P7 or 8 in qualifying.
Yeah, something like that.
And you came up to get a podium, so yeah, it was a really good race from you. We saw your domination in Tier 2 with the extra fuel. I'm assuming you weren't using extra fuel today.
Well, this time I was using the correct amount.
Yeah.
And I was really trying this time.
So you're feeling a bit more comfortable.
Are really fast, and I'm really enjoying this tier, and I'm happy to be moved up.
Well, yeah, I think me and Josh are glad you're moved up because you provide a little bit of an underdog story in this race, coming from P7 to get a podium. So yeah, really well done, and good luck going into Spa.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Definitely, we look forward to seeing it. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great evening.
So that was Elgard, who was P3 in GT3 category. We have with us the first place and third place for GT4. We have first off our winner, Adam Sharp. How are you doing, Adam?
Sweaty after that.
I'm not surprised.
The word. But yeah, it's my first RWB win, so pretty chuffed with that one. I think I got a bit lucky. I'm not sure what happened to. Is it Busek? Do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Busek.
I'm not sure if the GT3 might have punted him off in the hairpin. So yeah, a bit lucky really. I think he just about had the pace on me today. So, but I had a good battle with him in Sector 1, going side by side for a few corners. So yeah, pretty chuffed with the result.
Yeah, it looked really good fun, especially towards the very last lap, where it looked like Butchek was about 0.5, 0.6 seconds off you. Were you worried, or did you think you had it in the bag?
I was panicking a little bit, so I just thought, because I was quite slow towards end of first stint, and he caught me, and well, he was kind of half a second behind me for the entire stint. But he passed me towards end of first stint, and I was kind of struggling on tyres a little bit. So I was just gradually getting slower and slower as the stint were going. But no, last few laps I was just taking it really easy. I didn't want to make any mistakes, So yeah, just glad to bring it home.
Definitely. And how are you feeling for Spa? I know I've been asking everyone about this, but yeah, Spa's quite a tricky one.
I'm new to ACC, so I've not actually done Spa yet. So yeah, it should be interesting. I know the track pretty well from other games, though. So yeah, I think hopefully I've finished second and first now, so I just want to keep sort of fighting for podiums. So anything around top 3, I'll be pretty happy.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a really good target, especially if you're brand new to ACC. That's for you to be doing as well as you are.
That felt completely like his fault.
Yeah, and he was flashing before, so he just doesn't give a shit about the rules.
He was also flashing?
Butchek?
Yeah,
before.
there you go.
I mean, I saw he was rushing, so...
We've been out at way a lot of time for him, so yeah, I think Busek's he was dealing with the traffic a lot better than I were as well, so it's just a learning curve at the moment, really.
My final question: you were talking about the GT3 traffic. How did you find it? Because we know there's quite a lot of I wouldn't say hate, but a lot of disagreements between GT3s and GT.
Did Jeff? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
In the Honda.
No, he's in the Aston Martin.
No, I was in the Honda.
Oh, sorry.
I found it more tricky last week around Nurburgring. It were actually quite good today. There was one incident where one guy sort of came down the inside and the guy behind him decided to follow him, which I nearly turned in on that guy. But other than that, yeah, it were quite good. It was just a bit scary.
I still don't know why they're not taking me to the comms.
Well, you have to go up there yourself.
Well,
Good check.
In waiting for comms.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
People around you, it seems pretty decent.
Awesome. Yeah, Alex, do you have any other questions for Adam?
No, not really. Just really well done. Like we saw your battling with Buchek. That was some pretty interesting stuff. And then unfortunately Buchek going off at the hairpin. I don't think we quite saw whether it was a GT3, but we just saw we were watching someone in front and we saw him just go like straight on at the hairpin into the grass.
I assume it was because he didn't make a single mistake.
Yeah,
the
that's
entire time,
what we were thinking. He was really consistent and pacey.
I was kind of tempted to wait up and let him back through, because I didn't really want to win my first race just because he'd been punted off. But because I didn't see it, I thought I'd be kicking myself if he's just gone deep. So I just thought I'd best carry on.
I don't blame you. Like it wasn't. Oh, hello, Buchek.
Hello.
Can you just explain to us what happened with you when you were in? Because you were leading and then you went off at the hairpin. Was it a GT3?
I came together with the GT3. I'm looking at the replay right now, and I left him just a car width, and he needed just a tiny bit more, and we came together. I clipped a bit of grass and went off.
That's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
He already pissed me off because he was flashing, and that's strictly against the rules.
Yeah, that's definitely something should bring up to the stewards. But yeah, sorry, everyone who's listening in, this is Buchek, who's our P2 winner for GT4. I'd just say thanks for joining us, Adam, before we jump off you onto Buchek.
No worries.
And
Buchek.
Anyway, thanks.
Yeah, cheers, Adam. Well done.
Thank you.
So yeah, Buchek, our P2 guy for GT4. How'd you find out of it? Because of course we've heard just now about your GT3 incident. How was it overall, despite that?
Oh, the race was really good. The car was feeling really well. I prepared a decent setup. The pit strategy went really good, and I was pulling a gap to P2. Was running comfortably in the lead. So only something like that could take the win away from me. So I'm a bit sad about that. But it's racing, so it happens sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, that's the truth of racing over sim or in the real world. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you don't. How are you feeling for Spa?
I'm feeling really confident. McLaren is very quick in the straight line, and I'm really starting to like this car. It's a really relief after running KTM in the last season because you just can't overtake anyone, and we never really clicked. So I'm very looking forward to the next races and hoping for some decent redemption.
Definitely. We'll definitely be looking out for your redemption next race. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And finally, we have our P3 guy from GT4, the RWB representing us. It's Rigel. How you doing, Rigel?
Hello, mate.
So yeah, how was the race for you overall? Were you how'd you find it?
I was actually a little bit surprised to come up with third. I think I qualified. I think I actually qualified third, which again was a bit of a surprise. But a bit of caution in the first few corners, as I'd expressed to everybody for the first few corners, and into the S's. Lost me a couple of places, but a bit of patience. Helmet got into a little collision with a GT3. I think there was a misunderstanding there, so I gained a place back there, and then I was stuck behind the cork in the bottle, which is a Jeff. I can't I don't know his first name, but yeah, he just seemed to drop off his pace a little bit, and I was challenging quite a lot, and then eventually after about 4 or 5 laps I managed to outbrake him into the chicane at the end of the lap and make the overtake stick. But by that time the leaders had already got a reasonable gap, and I didn't quite have the pace on them to catch them up again. I think my position was basically dictated by my pace. I think I had third place pace, so I'm quite happy to have maintained it. Some of the GT3s. It was interesting this week because I don't know if the track was a bit longer, but or there was less GT3s in it, but it took them a fair bit longer to get round to us again. It was lap 9 before I got overtaken by the leader. Some of them are better at predicting where's a good place to overtake than others. I think in time, with a bit of practice, they'll get the hang of it a bit more. It's all about patience, really, and all about lining yourself up correctly.
Yeah, definitely. How are you finding the standard of racing within the league so far?
Well, it's always we always get an influx of new racers at the beginning of each league, and they come along and they're not really familiar with the standards that we expect from them, and it takes a couple of races and a couple of penalties issued each week, which everybody reads with interest before they start to realise, what's actually expected of them, and generally it starts to settle down. I think Tier 1 actually was reasonably good. I think by the sounds of it, we've got someone still flashing the lights, which we don't like flashing, and a couple of clumsy collisions, but we always encourage them to either sort it out between themselves, or if they really think it's out of order, then submit a report, and we will deal with it forthwith. And these things do bring the standards up over time, so we find more and more people they get better at racing, basically, so they improve.
Definitely. I mean, penalties aren't there to spite someone; they're more there to help you learn.
Indeed.
Yeah, I've only seen one person here get a race ban so far, so that's always very promising and good to see.
Well, there was one last league. But that person went away and were very apologetic, and when they came back, they were exemplary. I think that was Srinivasan. We did actually mean to give him a good old pat on the back. I think we forgot, actually. So if you are listening, Srinivasan, you did very well when you came back and have been a very respectful racer since. And yes, it is a learning experience for them, and generally it does clean up their act. They've all often come from public lobby type racing, so it does take a little while for them to adjust.
Definitely, it was a learning experience going in on this week's Tuesday and Wednesday race, and kind of getting used to not using flashing as a distraction. I mean, I have to raise my hand up. I'm quite guilty of going into public lobbies and flashing. But yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely good to kind of get out of bad habits like that, and start relying on actually making moves rather than using dirty tricks like that.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's a dirty trick, and that's not the ethos of the club. It's about being respectful and generally just having a good fight with somebody.
Definitely. Alex, do you have any other questions for Rigel?
No, not really, other than just well done. I think, yeah, as you said, with your pace, P3 was pretty much the highest attainable slot after the start, so after the P1 and 2 kind of just ran away, so well done for managing to hold it and not bottle it.
Yeah, I am usually relatively consistent, so I was fairly confident that I could hold on to third. I did have Gabsy behind me, I think, but I think he was probably in the same boat as me. He was pretty much the same pace, so yeah, I knew it was going to be level pegging pretty much.
Are you confident going into Spa?
Oh, it's Spa is Spa. I've raced it so many times. It's a good track. It can throw up some interesting races, but the thing about it is everybody loves it. So everybody's pretty much at the top of the game on that one. So it'll probably be a battle of setups, to be honest.
Yeah, so we might see a few more people that were lower down this week might be doing a little bit better next week, since maybe they know Spa a bit better. Maybe they're a bit better at it just because they've spent more time on it because they prefer it to Suzuka.
It'll also be good practice for everybody for
Yeah.
the endurance in November. So it'll be a bit of a precursor to that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to watching both Spa races and hopefully driving a 12-hour one. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Rigel, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for you next week. Hopefully see you in P2 next time.
You never know, I might get lucky. Anyway, yeah. Thanks, lads, for the commentary.
That's all right.
Cheers.
Cheers for the interview.
No problem.
See you later. Right, that concludes the interviews. I think we've been through everyone bar P2 of the GT3s who didn't want to do an interview, so that's all right.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
So yeah, I think that concludes today's round 2 of the Saturday Super GT series. I hope everyone's enjoyed the stream, and hopefully you've enjoyed mine and Josh's commentary.
Yeah.
we've certainly enjoyed it. It's pretty fun, just chatting over racing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still getting used to the commentary stuff, but I'm definitely enjoying it, and hopefully everyone's not too bored of our voices yet.
Yeah. I'm getting used to the changing the cameras and stuff, just still trying to get my computer dialed in with the streaming side of it, but hopefully we're doing an alright job. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and cheers to our sponsors Racing Sim Tools and SimStock for making RWB what it is. And yeah, that's everything. So hopefully we'll see you here next week for round 3 at Spa, and I think we'll be streaming tier 3 for that. So thanks from me.
Hopefully. Yeah, and me. Don't race alone, race RWB.
Yep, right. See ya.